that I noticed one thing about my locks that I really did not think about before trimming them, and that's just the fact that once you clip your locks. So I cut my locks about 2.5 weeks ago, and if you haven't seen that video, please go watch that video first. It's only like 5 minutes long, and then come back and watch this video. If you plan on cutting your locks, I actually had like a decent little technique in that video that I used. But in this video, I want to talk to you guys about what I noticed after cutting my locks, and I want to talk to you guys about maybe some things I would have done differently and some things you might want to think about if you decide to cut your locks. But before I get into that, I actually want to address a comment that I received under a previous video, and that video was about the freedom of Freeform Locs, the beauty of Freeform Locs, and the entire journey that comes with having Freeform Locs. And the comment was something along the lines of, if you believe that Freeform Locs are beautiful and they should just be set free and allowed to grow how they grow, then why have you trimmed your locks? And I'm not gonna lie, that's a great question, and I actually had to think about it and ask myself, why did I choose to trim my locks knowing that they're freeform? I let them grow freely. And I also believe that message that Freeform Locs are the ultimate freedom and they're very beautiful as they are. So let me get into that for you guys first. So the one thing that I can say is my opinion on Freeform Locs has not changed. I do believe that our hair as it grows naturally is very beautiful, and the journey of it is very powerful and spiritual. So if you decide to go on a Freeform Loc journey, you're going to notice a lot of changes with your mindset, your spirit, and just, you know, your overall progression as a human being. So I've had my locks freeform since 2018, and I've noticed that I've enjoyed the journey a lot. I haven't had the urge to maintain them by retwisting them, but recently, as you guys know, I have trimmed my locks. So why did I do that? Now, the main reason I decided to trim my locks is not simply because I wanted to manicure them and make them look a certain way, but the biggest reason was just that once they got longer, they just became cumbersome. They just became something that was in the way of my field of vision. Every time I tried to eat or drink something, they were always in my food, and still to this day they do kind of get in the way when I'm eating or drinking. And also, when I would put my locks up, I didn't like the pull or the strain of it on my roots or on my scalp. So I didn't like to put my hair up too much. You guys really never see me with my hair up because I don't like how it feels. So I realized, looking back on pictures, you know, when my hair was this short, it was very easy to keep out of my way. So to this day, even though I've trimmed my locks, I don't maintain them by retwisting. I don't put any extra products in them besides black soap or natural oils every now and then. I still embrace the beauty of letting my locks grow naturally, form naturally. I don't separate. I don't, you know, do anything extra to them. And on top of that, things change, people change, feelings change too. Things change, people change, feelings change too. So you may feel as though you would never do something ever, or you may never participate in a certain activity, or you may never change your views on one thing, but you may find that as you grow and as you mature, your opinions about certain things change as well. And that's just part of growing as a person. If your opinions and stuff aren't changing on things, that means you're not really growing. That means you're stagnant. So I embrace the fact that I am growing with my hair, and my journey is still my journey. Yeah, don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't be doing this or that because it goes against what you thought or said in the past, because that's just a sign that you're growing as a human. But back to the topic of this video. So last week I posted on my Instagram story that I noticed one thing about my locks that I really did not think about before trimming them, and that's just the fact that once you clip your locks, no matter how you started them, surprising to me, I started my locks with a sponge, but no matter how you started them, once you clip your locks, the ends of them will kind of be a lot easier to unravel. So all of the ends of my locks after being trimmed, they are of course looser. They don't have their rounded ends like they did before. So, you know, when people start locks, their ends aren't fully mature, so they're easier to unravel. But once your locks start to mature, they get that rounded, blunt look to them, and they're locked up, so you can play with the end of your locks and they won't come apart. So I used to have that, but now that I've trimmed my locks, they are more frayed, they're looser, and if I play with it a little bit and if I try to separate it, it'll actually separate. But although that's a thing that's happening now, I still rinse my locks daily with plain water in the shower, or if I don't take a shower in the morning, I'll still use a spray bottle to wet my locks, or I'll put my locks underneath the faucet or underneath the tub faucet and just drench them so that they get that daily rinse, because I still love to rinse my locks daily. And if you wonder why, I actually have a video on that topic that I'll put above in the cards. But because I rinse my locks daily, I noticed that they're going back to that rounded, mature look on the ends, and I know it won't take long, and I know that they'll look a lot more rounded and mature than they did when I first started my Freeform locks before I trimmed them. They didn't have a consistent thickness from the root all the way down to the end. I feel like now, since I trimmed off a few inches, the consistency of the thickness is, you know, a lot better throughout the lock. So they're not really like tapered where they're thick at the top and super thin at the bottom like they used to be. But I can say that if you're thinking about trimming your locks and you're worried that it's going to make them unravel, if your locks were mature at the ends, or if they are mature at the ends, then that's not going to be a problem. Just don't play with the ends and they won't unravel. Now, the second thing that I realized after trimming my locks that kind of threw me off when I first noticed it is just the fact that since my locks are trimmed, it's like they're open at the ends now. When the lock is completely sealed throughout, you know, all of that shedding isn't going to happen as much. But once I clipped the ends of my locks, that shedding throughout my hair, like that shedding at the ends, they were like, the pieces were able to just fall out. So when I first trimmed my locks, I had a lot of shedding, and it wouldn't just happen when I was touching them a lot, but it would happen where I'm just, you know, doing everyday things, and I would notice on my shirt or something that there would be, you know, pieces of my hair that fell out of my locks. Or even when I rinse my hair or when I wash my hair, I would notice that in the sink or in the tub, there would be little pieces of my hair that came out from those clipped ends. And that's not a problem. Shedding is a natural process that your hair does, so it didn't worry me at all. But I can say now that after it's been about 2.5 weeks, that shedding has been cut down tremendously. I barely even noticed shedding. I noticed a couple people in my comments talking about how, you know, reason why some people might decide to trim their locks is that they get super heavy as they get longer. And me personally, I'm not sure why, but my locks are really not heavy. I consider my hair to be pretty thick, so if I part my hair, then the part is actually a pretty thin part, so I can tell that the strands of hair are pretty close together. But I think for me, the weight of my strands of hair is just not that heavy. So I have a friend who has thick hair, but his hair is also heavy. So even though my hair was close to the length that his hair is right now, it's not like, it wasn't heavy, it's still not heavy, but his hair is super heavy. So if you're having problems with thinning at your scalp, that may be a problem of, you know, your hair is just too heavy, and that can be one problem. But the other problems may be related to how you're taking care of your hair. You know, some people get thinning at the scalp because it's a genetic thing, like they have it in their genes where their hair starts to thin or starts to bald at a certain age. That's a thing. Some people get thinning at their roots when they retwist too much, or their hair is constantly dry, or they're just not giving it the right nutrients. But those are just a couple things that I noticed after trimming my locks. I don't think that anything's going to change that, you know, I'm predicting. And, you know, if you're having any of these thoughts of trimming your locks, I say honestly, go for it. Honestly, I believe we should do what we feel like is best for ourselves. So if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments of this video, and I will respond to every question and every comment. But I will catch you guys in the next video. All right, bye.